If you have no other prayer to make, you don't know what words to say, those words would be enough. Have your way in me, God. Have your way in me. I'm very excited that today is Mother's Day. It's always a bit of a challenge over the years. I've done 17 or 18 different Mother's Day talks. Today I'm very happy to tell you that I'm not doing it today. I'm so excited. I have picked a very dear friend of mine. I asked a very dear friend of mine who I've known here in Hawaii for over 20 years if she would come and speak on Mother's Day. This is Joanne Adams. She is an attorney. She is a true patriot, a champion of causes for equality in this state and beyond. And above and all that, she is also a woman of great service. She and her partner Bev have been cooking in our kitchen breakfast for all of us every morning for the last 2 years. We have more PhDs in that kitchen than there are anywhere else on the campus. I don't know. Something about that just draws in the most brilliant of all people. What I've learned, in addition to everything else I knew was wonderful about Joanne, is that despite all of the activities she does on such a major, major level, she is happy and honored to come and serve us. And now she's stepping up and going to talk to you about Mother's Day. Please welcome Joanne Adams.
I'm bringing the Kleenex. I made it through the first two, but you never know. There's something about this room. All you have to do is start singing, and I start weeping. When Sky first asked me to speak, I'm telling you, I felt exactly like Bill Cosby in the Noah skit. This is Bill Cosby. He's being Noah. He's at home working on a home project when he hears directly from God.
Noah, who is that? It's the Lord, Noah. Right. Where are you? What do you want? I've been good. I want you to build an ark. Right. What's an ark?
And that's exactly the way I felt. I'm walking across the courtyard and I look up the stairs and there is Sky. And he says to me, Joanne, I want you to give a sermon. Right. I want you to give it on Mother's Day. Right. What do I know about being a mother? I'm not a mother. He says, hey, I've had to give it for the last several years. And I realized he was right. I've had a mother. I've known people who are mothers. I can research this thing. I've even had a little brush of insights into motherhood. So I organized my thoughts, and we're going to talk about motherhood in 4 different phases. We are going to talk about it as create, sustain, develop, and release. And after each phase, we're going to get grateful. Why? Because gratitude is the gateway to grace. And I want us to think about creation as ending, the first create phase, as ending right at the moment of birth. And the reason that I have selected that time is because that's the only time where we all share a common experience. Because we all have only one birth mother. We may not know who she is. We may not know where she is. But we all have one birth mother. Now, I was lucky enough to stumble across some archival footage. These are the angels. They have created the human race. They have created man and woman, and they have decided now, they're going to decide which of them, male or female, is going to give birth to the child. Let's listen in.
But now we just have to decide, which one's going to actually have the baby.
Oh, right.
So it could be either one.
Yeah.
Male, female. It's really crapshoot, really.
How about the female?
Okay, good. All right. So now we've got the female pregnant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
What?
Well, she gets to have a baby. What does the guy get?
Oh, squat.
Zip.
Bupkis.
He'll be hurt and jealous.
All right, let's just balance it out.
Well, why don't we make the power of birth have some drawbacks? Dull the shine a little.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's good.
We can make it messy for one.
Messy's good.
Start.
I like messy, yeah. Messy, that's good. Maybe uncomfortable?
Yes.
Would that be good?
Oh, not just uncomfortable.
No.
Painful.
Painful's it. I like pain. That's good, pain. But how pain? I mean, is she going to give herself pain? Figure a way to implement the pain.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
We could have the baby.
The baby.
Grow inside the female's stomach for, about an Earth year. And then have it come out a small portal in her body.
So now we know it is by design that birth is both messy and painful. What they failed to mention is that it's also life-threatening. Today and every day around the world, 1,000 women will die in labor. So I want us to take time to not only think of our birth mother, but to realize that she risked her life to give us life. And let's get grateful. Why? Because gratitude is the gateway to grace. Let's join me in saying, thank you for giving me life. Together, thank you for giving me life. Now, once we get past this, our experiences can vary widely. I talked to a woman who gave up her child at birth. And let me recap what she said in terms of these 4 phases. I created the child. I even tried to sustain the child, but I soon realized I couldn't. And my child deserved to be given up into an environment that could both sustain and develop him. And so it was not an act of rejection that I gave up my child. It was an act of love. I also talked to my partner. If you talk to me about what's motherhood, I had the same mom. My mom birthed me, she sustained me, she developed me. But I talked to my partner, Bev, of 19 years, because her experience is very different. She had a birth mother. She was given up at birth. She was adopted at birth. And then her adoptive mother died when she was 2. There was a series of wives and housekeepers, and she identifies wife number 3 of 4 as her mother. So the first thing I did is I turned to her and I said, Bev, what's your take on motherhood? And she said instantly, my father was my mother. He was the constant in my life. Now, I had my brush with motherhood with this little guy. I promise you, I didn't birth him. We got him when he was 2 or 3 weeks old. We had to bottle feed him several times a day. When we got him, he could barely look out or see out of the orange crate box that he now more than amply fills. And one day, I was bottle feeding him, and he looked me right in the eyes. And I felt this wave of gratitude, and I heard this voice, I'm alive because of you. And I felt that bonding that I had only read about. He was no longer a pet, he was my son. And I would do anything for him. Now, the very fact that all of us are here means that someone served that role for us. Someone sustained us. And I want us to hold in on our minds those people who made sure that we stayed alive. And I want us to get grateful. Why? Because gratitude is the gateway to grace. So I invite you to join me in saying, thank you for sustaining me. Thank you for sustaining me. Development. Again, I went back to Bev, and I said, Bev, explain to me, why is it that wife number 3 of 4 is the one that you think is your mother? She said, well, it's very simple. Of all the housewives and wives, she was the first one to take an interest in me as a person. And I found that answer haunting because I had asked the very same question to another friend of mine who had been given up at birth. She was born in Germany and placed in a German orphanage by her birth mother. And she said, at one point there was a nun. She gave me a cup of cocoa and we sat down and talked. And it wasn't so much about the cocoa, it's that she took an interest in me as a person. So I want us to think about those people who took an interest in us in a person. Notice how the net's getting a little wider. There's taken more in the village to raise the child. I'm also going to tell you a little bit about my mother. This is a picture of the 3 of us, and you can tell instantly from the picture a lot about our family. First of all, education is obviously important. We don't just graduate, it becomes a sacred event and a gala occasion. This happened to be the time when I was graduating from junior college, my brother was graduating from high school, and my mother put on the gown that she kept in the hall closet because she was a college professor and always had it at the ready. Now, my mother was a genius. She subscribed to several professional journals, and she read them from cover to cover. She was a very big fish in a very specialized pond. And she wrote textbooks with such scintillating titles as Measurement and Evaluation in Psychology, Education, and Guidance by Georgia Sachs Adams. That was my mom. She was the national president of Pi Lambda Theta, and she was very proud that during her term it went international because they formed the first chapter in the Philippines. She was also the Secretary General of the International Council of Psychologists, and she was very proud that during her tenure, they helped move that organization from being an all-women's organization to including both women and men. They're beginning to get a flavor of who my mom is. But I didn't get it. I mean, I'm a kid. She compartmentalized so well that when she was at home, people were surprised she even worked for a living. I didn't get it until I was in college. I was taking educational psychology, and I get to the measurement chapter. There's Mom. Not just in one footnote, but 3 or 4 footnotes on the same page as Carl Jung. I stumbled across yet another fact about my mom that I didn't know till I put this together. In 2008, they established a grant in Pi Lambda Theta in my mother's name. Now, you would think that would be enough, but let me tell you this. My mother died in 1984. 24 years after she died, they established a grant in her name. That's the profound influence she had on teachers in the teaching profession. But to me, she was Mom. And one day, when I was about 3 or 4, I came home and I asked my mom, "What's a Jew?" Now, from my mom's perspective, this was just 8 years after the end of World War II. This was just 8 years after the liberation of Auschwitz. My mother had been married to a fellow named Sachs. She had long black hair. People often mistakenly thought she was Jewish, and although she never said it, I suspect she felt some of the discrimination because of that presumption. So she said to me, "Why do you ask?" And I said, "Well, the kids at school said that Mark Levy was a Jew, and I don't know what that means." She said, "Do you remember that there's a church behind Wagner's Swim Club?" And I said, I'm the kind of kid that if I see a pool, I don't see anything else. I said, "No." She says, "Well, there is, and they call it a temple. And Jews worship on Saturday, and we go to church on Sunday." She said nothing more. And that's the way my mother taught me, and that's the way my mother lived her life. There may be differences between us, but no one is inferior and no one is superior. There are just differences. So let's all get grateful. Why? Because gratitude is the gateway for grace. And those who care to join me in saying, thank you for developing me. Together, thank you for developing me. That brings us to our final phase, release. All I really know about release is they did a study, and they found out that kids from healthy families are groomed to be released and form their own families. Those from dysfunctional families, the release is not so good. I came from the latter family, and I remember having one of my notorious knockdown, drag-out fights with my father over this very issue. We didn't speak for 2 or 3 years, but he eventually released me. Right. So what I realized, though, is that there are several releases in our lives. Many of them are graduations. High school graduation is certainly one of them. Going off to the service, military service might be another, or going away to college. As I was approaching my high school graduation, I began to realize that I could tell the people from functional, happy families from people from dysfunctional families. And because I'm an alcoholic, I'll describe it this way. Those of us from dysfunctional families are like champagne glasses. Lots of bubble, kind of cute, but they tip over very easily. People from healthy homes are like old-fashioned glasses. They're very strong, base at the bottom. They believe in the process of life, and they trust that life will work out for them, and they're very difficult to turn over. Okay, so I'd like us to think, again, see how the net is getting even further and more of the village is being included. I want us to think about all those people who helped us feel like we were our own person, that we were maturing and becoming adults. And I want us to hold them in our thoughts, and I want us to give gratitude. Why? Because gratitude is the gateway to grace. And I invite you to join me in saying, thank you for releasing me. Thank you for releasing me. Now, what I also did is I went back through, we've got these 4 phases, create, sustain, develop, and release. And I thought, I better make this feel a little bit more like a sermon. So I went back through, and I tied it back into the Bible to show that the same relationship we have with each other is the same relationship God has to us. And as we know, the Bible opens with the create. The whole chapter is dedicated on create. In Genesis 1:27, for example, so God created mankind in his own image, male and female. Sustain chapter, one of my favorites ones, is from the New Testament, where Jesus says, focus on me, and I will take care of you. Don't I take care of the flowers and the birds? Matthew 6:34, God will help you deal with whatever hard things come up when the time comes. In James 1:5, this is a development one. If you don't know what you're doing, pray to the Father and ask for help. He loves to help. And what I have found in my experience is that God is a gentleman, and he only comes when invited. And finally, Luke 24:36-53. This is entirely too long to put up there, so I'll just summarize. This is the final release of Jesus. He has come, he has taught, he's been crucified. He was resurrected. He comes back and says, I'll eat with you. Let's talk. Come touch me. I'm not a ghost. And then after he finished that, he was released and he ascended into heaven. Now, I also feel a form of spiritual release. I feel it when I meditate. I feel release. I feel it when I forgive. I feel it when I walk through fear. I feel it when I donate. And I feel it when I talk truth to power. And I certainly feel it when I give thanks. Why? Because gratitude is the gateway to grace. So thank you very much. Happy Mother's Day.
I told you you would be blessed and happy that you came today. You didn't believe me, but it's really true. We all know here that the real action and transformation that happens in our lives happens on the inside. And so I want to invite you to take a few moments with me to take some of those thoughts that Joanne gave us, and especially the thought of gratitude, and to let them really feel inside of ourselves. Let them grow in us. If you'll close your eyes for a moment and take a deep breath, allow yourself to get centered. This is what we call a short meditation. And I just want you to think about, if you will, gratitude. Gratitude for the people who have lifted us in life. Gratitude for God. Let that feeling wash over you. There's nothing to be afraid of. God loves you with an absolute, everlasting, unconditional love. Just feel that growing inside of you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. As we sit with God for a few moments in the sacred and holy silence.